to make some kind of epic Sal rap.
I feel that there is something like you definitely have. I can't recall any of them right now, but there's definitely something where we could just throw this onto a board and just kind of.
Here's one I played from the other day. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Listen to me. Elliot Anderson, you fucking smelly ass eater. Kevin Cotillo put a tweet poll out on Twitter strictly asking about the theme songs. You fucking know nothing, non-nipple nose fucking fruitcake. Okay? So just get the fucking facts straight before you shoot your fat little face off in this chat room. You understand? And please, have a good weekend. Your son graduated this week and be celebrating. I love you. Take care.
Oh my God.
That's what it's like to be in a chat with me on a daily basis.
Say hi to your mother for me.
I always finish it all night.
5 minutes. And what? No, I'm not telling my mom anything.
Mark has almost 200 clips, he told me.
200?
Oh my God. He's in almost every one of my leagues that I'm in. And then the ones that he's not, I forward him the messages when I leave them.
Oh my God. All right. Well, you're right. Whoever that was, Kevin, I think that I need to
yeah. You need to connect with Mark and
you can get that done by July 7th. For the potathon.
For the potathon.
Awesome. You're gonna be traveling at the time?
Yeah, I'll be in Montana for like 2 weeks.
Oh my God. Remember last year we came on the potathon? You were in Montana when we spoke to you, remember? We were on your show and you popped in from Montana.
Yeah, I was at the rodeo, right?
At the rodeo, yes.
Hi, you.
Hi. Oh, that was amazing. That was a good memory right there. I forgot about that till you just said that. Yeah.
I don't do drugs.
What's the area code up there, Gabe?
Oh shit! Come on. It's 406.
The 406.
Yeah, I don't know about the 406.
I didn't even think that was a part of the country. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, there's no
one. It was Puerto Rico.
Can you believe there is one area code for an entire state that is what the third largest state in the country? Third or second or third? I don't know. I don't think it's bigger than Texas.
So I
think so.
I work in Rhode Island, which is obviously a very small state. They only have one area code as well, and they don't give out the area code when you ask them for their phone numbers. It's annoying as hell.
Yep, that's. I mean, I memorized a lot of numbers growing up, but you only had to remember 7. So once I came out here, it was wasn't the same. Well, I thought Sal was gonna have something interesting to add to the opening of the open bar here, but he just couldn't really construct a sentence. He just kind of kept saying "fuck" and "cupcake" or something like that.
I've never fucked a cupcake.
Excuse me, fruitcake.
Yeah, apple pies maybe, but not a cupcake.
Okay, we are live on the open bar. My pitch is off. I've been I told y'all I was rapping all day. Okay. Just the bars is hot. And so is the open bar. J Mike, dude, we're here. It's Tuesday. It's 9:30 Eastern ish. I think that's close to what is said on that beautiful, beautiful shirt that you are wearing. Dang, that looks good.
Come get a look, baby. Never late. Always on time. Logo. Press play.
Are those available?
Yes. Funny you should ask, Sal. Store theopenbar.storeenvy.com. Holler at us. Brand new, hot off the presses.
I just wanted to get a free one to give away in a potathon. I don't want to buy one.
Oh well, you know what? Maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, we can do that.
Are you guys giving stuff away for the potathon?
Yes, we did that last year. We had tons of donations, and basically anybody and everybody who donates to the potathon, there will be different tiers based on the value of the prize. Well, you'll be entered into a drawing, have the opportunity to win dozens upon dozens. I think almost every single person who donated last year got a prize. That's not an exaggeration.
That's awesome. Then consider our latest and greatest Open Bar Classic T-shirt a part of the giveaways.
Awesome.
Done.
I'll buy one if you donate two.
It could possibly, to go in line with the shirt. It's possible that the donation is made late, not quite on time, but just keep that in mind.
We have a brand to uphold.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with being poignant. It's just it's just our thing. So J Mike, how are you?
Pretty fantastic. It's I don't think that the summer solstice is here just yet. However, this is essentially the hashtag Summer of Kai Eve, where we're going to take our little break right before to celebrate the Summer of Kai, to celebrate our roots as a podcast. You're going to do some traveling. I'm gonna, I don't know, figure it out, I guess, while you're gone. Maybe take up knitting. Maybe drywalling, see what I can do with my basement.
Fiesta.
Yeah, so something, I don't know, but I'm gonna have a good time. I might even come on here with a group of folks, and didn't want to tell you this to your face, but one of our guests, whose first name is Kevin, actually, I don't know, low key tried to throw a coup and take your seat on the throne of this podcast. I won't say which Cotillo it was. I mean, which Kevin it was.
We knew the whole time.
Listen, there was no coup involved. It's really just I think J Mike is going to be bored. I wanted to help him out. I like podcasting. I have no life, so I just thought it was a natural fit.
And you would have thought it would be the guy named Sal from New York trying to steal your shit, right?
Right. I mean, you were coming at me with the bars right away, like we were about to freestyle battle, and then Kev's trying to take the show. I have no idea what other Kevin's going to do to me by the end of the night.
Man gets some walls in his basement. He thinks he's the king of everything.
I get walls and I take what I want. That's all there is to it.
It's all about
wall man
the
get
walls.
paid.
Putting up walls and breaking balls.
But Gabe, truth be told, tell him you came to New York, you met me, and I'm delightful.
Okay, look, I can't speak.
Wait, can we go back to the part where you start the story with, okay, look, like that's a red flag in itself.
It's also because he threatened him with a lead pipe, so he has to say nice things about him.
Yeah, it was a very awkward meeting point, Sal. I don't know why you wanted to meet in Times Square in that back corner.
I told you I'd be the guy
down in the subway, but
I'll be the guy dressed like Elmo.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Just tickle me.
And
Just tickle me.
happened to be the fly of his jeans. All right, let's do some introductions, J Mike. Let's invite some people on the show, some more people on the show, because we couldn't figure it out tonight, and we just had to settle for some Funhouse people. We'll start with those, even though they've kind of already made quite the introduction. And you're the new host, Kevin. Okay, so have at her, bud. Go ahead, introduce yourself and everyone else. Why don't you?
Well, so seriously, if you were really the host here, you would know that all you need to do is let the sultry tones of J Mike take over and do the introductions, because he does them so incredibly well.
I've been trying to make him do that for a long time, and I at least forced him eventually into the outro of sorts, and that's where he really shines. And maybe that's kind of the right setup because it's towards the end of the show. People stick around.
So you're telling me how to do my job now?
Hey, look.
This feels like a sick Jedi mind trick right now. Like, I don't know what's going on.
I have mentally taken over the show now, J Mike. That's all there is to it.
These aren't the walls you're looking for.
What was that, Kevin? You want me to strip naked? Okay, I got it.
Out of my head.
Oh, stay on brand. Stay on brand.
Listen, I am Kevin Cotillo. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Cotillo. You can find me on the Fantasy Football Funhouse podcast with Sal Lito, who is also sitting in on this podcast. He is at Sal Lito FF. You can find him everywhere, really. He's just an annoying follow. But every once in a while, he drops a gem. And
I'll
we
probably
got.
drop you on your head. I'll tell you that much.
I don't appreciate that at all. That's just really not nice. We got the better Kevin that's on this particular podcast right now, Kevin Tompkins of Fighting Chance Fantasy, at K Tompkins II. I'm not really sure why.
No, you're good.
That's it. Well, I know I got it. I'm a professional.
He's the second, man. He's the second. It stands for the number 2.
Yeah.
But
Didn't think of that, Kevin, did you?
But
You
they're
didn't think of that.
lowercase. But they're lowercase eyes.
It's irony, Kevin.
Well, that's lost on me for sure. But yeah, J Mike is here. Everyone knows J Mike, so we don't need no introduction. And some guy who's about to be replaced. Gabe, what's going on?
Could you at least say my handle? I mean, that's really why the people are here, right?
All right, is that
grab your hand? Let go of that, Kevin.
you can find J Mike at J Mike Check, and you can find Gabe at FF Man Bun. Although Gabe, I got to be honest with you, Sal told me that when he met you, there was no bun.
Look, Sal, are we going to do this now, or are we going to do it later? Because I didn't want to address the hair thing. Okay. We had a long, dark conversation about you and your hair loss, and I was there for you. But if you're gonna come out, okay, bun swinging.
You rubbed and kneaded my head, which was nice.
It's true. Shea butter, baby.
Yes. No, I said that you came out of the bar with locks flowing, and that you're a beautiful man. I spoke nicely.
Yeah. We're actually a lot better friends than you and I will ever be, Kevin. So,
hey, listen,
as a matter of fact, you could have come out to that meeting and you chose not to.
wow.
You guys know the history of me trying to meet up with Kevin? You guys know this history?
Yeah, you couldn't stop talking about it in New York.
I would love to hear this story, please.
So,
love to
Mr.
hear
J. Mike, Kevin and I are podcasting now for going on 4 seasons. We know each other for over 4 years. We've never met in person. I talk to him as much as anybody in my life, and we've never met in person. So 2017, my daughter was going to visit colleges in Boston, and I reached out to Kevin. He's like, oh, I know right where that hotel is. There's a bar downstairs. Bleepity bloppity bloop. He canceled. Didn't come. And I was like, man, Kevin. So fast forward a year later, maybe not even quite a year, my daughter is going, my youngest now, not my oldest, is going to do it was a cheerleading competition in Rhode Island at the Rhode Island Convention Center, which, Kevin, at the time, you lived how many miles away from?
Yeah.
Pretty close. Yeah, maybe like 10, 15 miles away.
Yeah.
And we already mentioned Rhode Island in the podcast already.
Yeah, and we were going to meet up again, and
I was there, by the way.
You went to a first birthday party, and you blew me off for a first birthday party. So here we are, 2019, 4 years. I came to Kevin twice, nothing. So in 2 weeks, the FF Ballers will be here in New York City. Well, I purchased 2 tickets, and Kevin told me, I'm going to speak to the wife. I'm going to come. It'll be a good time. He informed me today he will not be coming. I'll travel for work. And so here I am at the altar with 2 tickets to the Ballers and no one to go with.
Kevin, you're such a disease.
You know what? You're just playing to the crowd right now. That's just cool. You're just playing to the crowd right now. I know what you're doing, J Mike.
Well, what I'd like to say right now is, if there's any young ladies out there, first and foremost, would like that other ticket, you have first dibs, and then after that, it's whoever's got the most money. So,
straight like that. Real quick, shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. If you're listening to this in podcast form, obviously you can check us also on YouTube Live, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, never late, obviously, always on time. And you can get sneak peeks to beautiful pictures. Now, Doug Eddy, what up, Doug? Fellow Pats fan with Cotillo and Northeasterner, as basically all of you guys. Doug Eddy said, hey,
by the way, Doug lives in Rhode Island. I don't know why he's not getting shit for meeting up with Sal.
I don't know, because he didn't blow Sal off twice. Maybe I'm just a guess. Just a guess.
I'm sure Doug would meet up with me the first time.
Yeah.
Quality human.
Stand-up guy, that Doug Eddie. But Doug wanted to see a bunless Gabe, and I just wanted to give them a preview of the splendor that is my main man, my main squeeze, my big spoon, in all of his splendor in the fields of glory. Give me some thigh action, inner thigh action there. Just bare midriff. Zeke, eat your heart out right now. I'm just saying.
Don't skip leg day, idiots.
maybe a signed picture of this can be something that you guys can give away for Podathon. I think that this would drive the ladies wild, and I'm pretty sure that the donations would come flooding in.
FF Man Bun calendars, and we can start it in July.
Possibility.
That's Mr. July right there in Fields of Glory. I like that.
I say we market the calendar for Fantasy Cares. It's just it would raise so much money for the kids, and clearly
for the kids. Yeah.
Personally, I like to see Gabe stay in that field and be there at Mr. December when the snow just covers him right over. We're not going to look at that.
Just the same setting in all seasons. same picture.
Awkward, it's raining.
That honestly probably was December in Texas.
Let's put some kids in therapy for the kids.
Gabe, would you like to hear some of the comments on this picture of you in the chat?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, shout out to.
Yeah, I couldn't read them myself. That'd be impossible.
Yeah, about that. I'm actually going to come back to that because we had history happen, guys, and we'll come right back to that. But Mr. Aaron Bogan up in Maine, shout out to Aaron. He's the big homie. He says this: "Oh man, now I am half chub." Staying on brand with the show there. Larry Monkey, what up, Larry? Larry hits us with "Can't see Gabe's treasure trail." Not.
I'm a tease like that. Okay, you can't have all at once. Got to buy the calendar.
Oh, I gotta go vomit. I'll be right back.
Next up, Mr. Gunther. What up, Tyler? Tyler hits us with a thick with 4 C's and a K.
Oh wow!
Thighs, Gabe.
I haven't seen that before.
Thighs, Gabe. He's pretty enthralled with your thigh game. You're a thigh master. And Zach from the Dummies hits us with really wish he'd take the shades off and maybe just nibble the earpiece. I mean, really.
I don't understand how nobody has locked in on the facial expression, because really that's the most disturbing part.
Oh, he has a face.
It just looks like I'm basking, That's the basking face.
I don't know that face says basking, but
yeah, I don't know.
I think I'm getting melanoma from his thighs.
Who's the model here, Kev? Who's the model here? Come on.
Listen, I hear you, Gabe.
Hey, listen.
I feel like we've started this on the wrong foot, Gabe. We need to get back on track.
Gabe, go to Facebook.
Wrong thigh.
You can see Kevin posing with his daughter at her most recent dance recital, and he is looking svelte these days. So
yeah, that's right. My thigh game is on point. So
if nothing else, he could be a big and tall model. Mostly big.
You trying to thigh off me, bro?
Seems you want a thigh off. I don't know that you want this.
By the end of this, I'm gonna have the other Kevin replace those eyes with thighs, baby.
That's right.
Gabe, last two.
He does his little thing on the catwalk.
Cody Kutzer, what up, Cody? Cody hits us with "I love free #softcore." And this is my submission to the long line of fun. I said, "This is Gabe's vinegar strokes face."
Oh no!
So it's probably a good thing that you have your shades on. Otherwise, it could get real weird. And
my eyes might be cross-eyed. You don't really know.
Tompkins is right about that melanoma. I'm going to put these on just to save myself going blind.
All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Follow me on Instagram for more photos like that. I'm sure Sal, you follow me, right? You've seen that, right?
Yeah, I couldn't find your thing before because you go by some crazy genius thing. But yeah, I've seen that before. And again, I've seen it in person.
Oh, this is so weird.
Oh, we've offended Tyler Guthner by saying melanoma.
Sorry,
There's always one bitch in every crowd. Oh, he's a ginger. It's the ginger killer, he wrote.
The ginger killer. Who said that, Gun?
Guthner.
So
all right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gabe.
No, you go ahead.
So actual football, which I guess some people want to talk about, I don't know.
Okay.
I actually don't want to leave the wonderful area of the country that these guys are in. For a moment, can we please just touch on the DEFCON 5 alert that is the New England Patriots backfield and how basically the quote-unquote procedure for one PlayStation Sony Michelle. Anyone scared to death with any of this information within New England, or is life great as it is? Someone talk me off the ledge. What are we doing?
I mean, I'll start off here. I'm not worried about it. It's a cleanup procedure. I mean, look, long term, you got to be a little nervous about Sony, but no more than you're nervous about Todd Gurley right now. And he's obviously not the player that Todd Gurley is, but he's got similar knee issues. He's going to have arthritis issues. He's going to have issues with those knees going forward. But at the same time, this is a little cleanup procedure that we're talking about in May, June that he had it done. He'll be fine for training camp. I'm not worried about Damian Harris usurping his role. I think it's crazy that people are starting to go that heavily into him. I like the player, but I don't think he's going to take over everything. I think Sony's fine. I'm still a huge buy on him because I think you can get him at a pretty decent value right now because of what's been going on. So if you can get out there and buy him, J. Mike, do it. And don't sell any of your shares. You're good to go.
Yeah, I think he's sliding a little bit too, and it's a good value there. I like Michelle going into drafts, and I think Harris is not much of a factor, at least right now either. And obviously, James White's got the passing game locked down. I'm not too. I've got a couple shares of Michelle, and I'm holding, and I think it's just fine. Like Kevin said, it's a cleanup procedure, and I think he's good to go. It's June, so I mean, if he's got issues going into early to mid August, then there's reason to worry. But it's too early for that now. We all like to overreact with stuff like that. And I think it's just let's pump the brakes on it.
Don't tell me to be cool. Don't tell me to be cool, Kevin.
Are you guys implying that I should not hold on to my Jeremy Hill shares?
You should hold on to them. You absolutely should.
I have plenty of those. We joke about this, as we talk about the Patriots a lot because on our podcast because of Kevin. And I said, with all this being said about Damian Harris and Sony Michel and James White, I will go on a record as saying Brandon Bolden will have the most total yardage in a Patriots backfield this year. It's just inevitable. I stay away from Patriots running backs at all costs. Period.
Listen, they ran the ball 450 times, something like that. 478 times last year. Sony Michel had 200 of those, and he got 931 yards and 6 touchdowns. It's irrational to think that he won't get a similar amount of usage this year. It's absolutely irrational.
Hi, I'm Bill Belichick. Welcome to irrationality.
It's not even about Bill Belichick, man. How are they going to get 450 carries without giving him around 200? It's just you're not going to see Harris come in his rookie year and get that. He's a third-round draft pick that I don't think has that ability. I think he's going to be used on special teams.
Hey. Damian Harris slander will not be tolerated.
Listen, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Harris.
Thank you, J. Mike. I said on our pod he will be the goal line back.
Let's go.
I think that's your value, right, with him, and that's fine. He might get touchdowns, but he's not going to be a regular usage guy. You may see 5 carries out of him. I mean, I think you're going to get 15 carries out of Sony Michel pretty much every game, and I think you're going to be fine with that.
Yeah, Harris is a spell at best right now for me, at least. I mean, it's it's difficult to see him not getting, 210, 220 carries. He had 209 last year, and riding postseason momentum. I think he's going to be fine. Yeah, Harris is just a spell guy for me, 5 to 7 carries. We'll see what he does with him, and you kind of know how Belichick writes the hot hand. Maybe gets a little bit more if he really gets it going. But yeah, I can't see much more from Harris.
Well, Kevin Tompkins, let me ask you, because I deal with the other Kevin all the time. If obviously the best back to have in New England is Sony Michel. I don't disagree with that. But when push comes to shove, and I don't have an ADP open, but if you're choosing between him and another back at that same ADP or in that general vicinity, are you passing him up because of the history of what has gone on with Belichick backs, or are you not afraid of that? Do you feel like the talent is going to outweigh that, and he'll be enough to live up to what Kevin believes?
I've always been a talent guy. I'm going to take guys, best player available, at least for me. Yeah, the Patriot thing scares me. Don't get me wrong. But, I think it's certainly possible, Michel. Maybe he gets a little bit more of a chunk in the passing game. We saw that in Georgia, too. So I think he gets a little bit more of that. He's not going to, eat really into James White's. But, I like Michel, and I've taken him not super high, but, in that 5th round range around there, where he's been slipping a little bit just because of that cleanup procedure.
Sal, you this is one of my favorite games. I love this game. I'm looking at DLF ADP. What up, DLF? Yes. Gabe, I think Sony's probably going to be a guy that by the end of this episode you're going to end up adding to your list of like Damian Williams, Cooper Kupp. People that you just don't want to talk about anymore. Anyway,
I was going to say, I think we talked about this already, right?
Yeah. Not with Sony, no. But we're adding him. We're adding him now. Sony Michel currently going as player number 39 in the June ADP. Would you like a dose of Sony Michel or Derrick Henry?
Oh, well, welcome to my world where Derrick Henry is king.
Hey,
I'm the original Derrick Henry charter fan club member. It's Derrick Henry for me all day, all the time. I own him pretty much everywhere. That's easy for me. Not even easy. DH.
Tompkins.
God, that's tough because I've been burned so much with Derrick Henry, and I've been going back and forth with Kate Michelle from Ball Blast about Derrick Henry. God, give me Derrick Henry. Yeah, it's
Cotillo's getting pissed.
He's warming up just a little bit for me, but
I'll tell you, I like the opportunity that Derrick Henry has a little bit better because I'm not, I think Dion Lewis is less of a threat than, Damian Harris and James White. Look, we know that Sony Michel's passing game is capped by James White, right? There's no way around that. So that does limit him a little bit, but I still say Sony Michel. And I'll tell you the reason why is, like I said, I don't think that you're going to see any less carries than the 209 he had last year. And what I do think you're going to see out of Sony Michel in the second year is a little bit more explosiveness in that I think he can break more long runs this year. I think that as he understands the NFL game a little bit more, understands blocking and understands the schemes that the Patriots run a little bit better, he'll be more likely to turn some of those, 5-yard runs that he had last year into ones where he's going through the hole and breaking a long run. And you're going to see a lot more 20-plus runs for him. And that's where I think the value is with Sony Michel that's being overlooked because I really do expect that out of him. So I'm going to take Sony Michel for sure. Derrick Henry, I'd love to have him in week 10. Can I just get him from week 10 on?
He's perfect for when people like Sony Michel get tackled and he comes in to score touchdowns. What? Sony.
Gabe, anything from you, Gabe?
It sounded like your attempt for the PlayStation warming up, that Sony sound, but it was like really.
I do a great
like
Sega.
There you
Ooh, nice. Like that.
What is it? Michelle or Henry?
Yes, currently
That's
running backs
to say.
18 and 19 in June ADP.
I'm gonna go with that. Derek Hangry. because I was about to say that on accident, but bit of a not a Freudian slip. What's another pun I can come up? Anyways, Derek Hangry. All right, the boy's going to eat. He's going to have a lot of carries. I don't know if he's going to be super effective is kind of my thing. I think ultimately that Michel's just a better runner and a better running back for his situation on the team that he's on. But I do think that Henry's going to get fed. And I don't know. It sucks. I hate to say it, but I'm taking Derrick Henry. Just because I think that Michel could possibly like take a dip, and I think that Henry actually has room to grow. I don't really like. He has a pretty safe floor. Like I remember a couple years ago when we were wondering. I hate to bring the name up even, but we were talking about Tyreek Hill in whether he was going to kind of keep going and be able to be what he's kind of projected to be, and where he was being taken in ADP. It was such a safe floor, and the surrounding cast, like Watkins wasn't there yet or anything. And it was going to be hard for him to fail and hard for him to, exceed his ADP. And I kind of feel that way about Derrick Hangry. So Derrick Henry, hashtag TM. That's mine.
Here's the question I have for you, though. There are teams, in my opinion, that are trending in opposite direction when it comes to rushing versus passing. Right, the Patriots are looking to go back the other way and run the ball more, whereas the Titans, we expect based on what they've done in the draft and what they're doing with their offense to throw more than they actually ran the ball more than they threw last year. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I don't know if that limits Derrick Henry's opportunities, but I think it certainly may be that he doesn't get anything more than he does last year. So,
you think the Titans are going to throw more this year?
Throw more than they did last year? Absolutely.
I thought you meant throw more than they run.
I do. I think so. I mean, it was pretty.
It was like stop with the Mariota love. I get over him already. Stop.
It has nothing to do with.
You love him. Admit it.
There's no question that the majority of teams in the NFL throw the ball more than they run the ball. Last year, the Titans ran the ball 456 times versus 437 passing attempts, right? That just doesn't happen for too many teams, and I don't expect it to happen again next year. That should be flipped.
Over under week 4, Tannehill plays.
It doesn't matter who plays. They're going to throw the ball.
Asking the crowd. It's not about you.
Week 2. Week 2.
Oh, man. Dang.
Under 4 weeks.
Mariota hang now. Let's go.
Hey, Cotillo, real quick, I'm so glad you brought this up about the touches, and I think it was your boss. I was listening to, shout out to our buddies over at the Dynasty Diagnostics, hashtag Pop the Hood, Eitan Stompy. They had your boss on. They had one of your bosses, I should say, as you're a man about town, Mr. Izzy Elkafaz, and just talking about the possibilities of Derrick Henry's touches. Last season, Derrick Henry had 230 total touches. With the way that New England operates, do you think that it's feasible that Sony, with the construction of the roster as it is there any possible way Sony approaches even what Derrick Henry did last year, just in terms of total volume? Like, is there any chance he gets to 230?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he had 209 rushes. He only had 15 targets last year. 11 targets last year. I expect that number to go up. He's not getting 7 receptions next year. He'll have more than that. So you're really talking about an increase of 15 total touches in order to get to that 230 mark. And a player coming into his second year, knowing the offense better, I do think that he'll get there.
I'll tell you what, Deion Lewis ain't getting 155 more carries next year either. There's no shot in that happening. Unless he gets hurt.
Yeah.
But
stranger things have happened.
That's true.
The other direction here, if we go up a spot in the ADP, and this has people all sorts of upset, and I'm actually going to pair with 2 guys. So this is kind of out of your playbook on Wall Street. Sorry, Kevin. We've got Sony, Aaron Jones, and Marlon Mack. Back to back in ADP. Mack 16, Aaron Jones 17, Sony Michel 18. Again, running back ranks there, or draft position, if you will. Who do you guys go with in that instance?
I think the consensus in the chat before you even brought this up was Mack over both Henry and Sony. Listen. I'm scared off of the Pat's backs, right? So it's not going to be him for me. And I've fought with Kevin for 2 years on Marlon Mack before he came around last year. He did come around. He didn't think that he could sustain, but he did. But I'm an Aaron Jones lover, and I think if Aaron Jones is given the opportunity to play as a featured back, that he is the best. Yeah, it is. You're right. You're gonna have to monitor that. But Brandon Rojas chooses Mack. But for me, Aaron Jones of those three, I just think he's the best player of the three when given the full opportunity.
I love Aaron Jones. Unabashed Packer fan. Can't go wrong with him. I'm just scared off. I just don't know with what Matt LaFleur's saying this offseason that Aaron Jones is going to get that legit opportunity to be that guy. I know he wants to mix in Jamal and Dexter Williams too, to our disappointment. Give me Mac. Give me the better O-line. Give me the passing game that's going to open up everything for Mac. Mac did come around when he came back last year. Had some good games there. Overall, I think I'll take Mac, but it's close with Jones. I think Jones has a better talent than Mac, but situation right now, give me Mac.
So, Kevin, you said the exact thing that I was. You mentioned the talent. Aaron Jones, I think, is probably the talented guy there. I if I'm going to rank the four of them from a dynasty perspective, I'm going to take Jones, Sony, Mac, and then Henry. And if I'm just looking at production for this year, Mac probably goes to the top of that because I do think he's going to get the best opportunity, but I don't know that he has a stranglehold on anything, and I would not be surprised to see Indianapolis bring in someone next year as well. I just don't know that he has the talent to hold on to the job for many years as opposed to just this year. Aaron Jones, I think his talent will win out, and I think ultimately he will become the lead back there, so I think he's probably the best play long term. So from a dynasty perspective, that's where I go. So that's my ranking there, and I'm just not a big Henry guy, so that's why he's last.
Feels like the land of, and maybe this is just a larger narrative, but walk with me, if you will, down this street real quick, guys. When we're looking at when we just take those four guys, again, we're looking at middle to the back of RB2 when we look at ADP there for those guys. Is this simply the case that all very talented players, and like you just said, like we've all just said, I think we've all caped for one of these guys at some point or another. Is this just the narrative of the RB2? Is that, man, they're super talented guys, but the situation doesn't lend itself for one reason or another because of the coaching staff, because of who's behind him, because of the loaded back, whatever it may be. Is that basically the narrative of the RB2? Is that, man, a lot of talented guys who could do it, but the situation just doesn't lend itself to their advantage?
It's not specific to RB2 anymore. I mean, Todd Gurley has Darrell Henderson breathing down his neck, right? So, I mean, it's literally, that's the time of year we're in. You're going to hear about every single backup from every running back position because they're always a threat to break out because we know the position's volatile, right? So, I mean, you're talking about a guy in Todd Gurley who was an absolute stud a year ago, and now people are drafting Darrell Henderson in the top half of rookie drafts. It's crazy. So I just think that's the position in general. That's why I think you have to weed through the coach speak, like in Green Bay, for example, where I think the talent's going to win out with Aaron Jones. You have to weed through some of the stuff you get to, like with Sony Michel and Damian Harris coming in. I think you just have to go with who you think is the talented guy that's going to get the touches.
There's warts on everybody. We're going to be over scrutinizing people, until training camp starts, and even then, you're like he said, like Kevin said, you've got Gurley, who's, everybody's got warts. You're going to find something bad about everybody outside of that top four, outside of that top five. So, I mean, you just got to be able to wade through it and kind of prioritize. All right, well, he's in a good situation. All right, he's got a highly drafted backup. Blah 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 blah. So.
It's funny, Kevin. You just wrote in the chat, and I think that's you in the Funhouse account, right? Legs are overrated in the NFL. Tyler Gunther, when talking about Sony before, said you need knees to be explosive, and then he puts in, "I'll throw in Dalvin Cook and take him." Well, he has any history of leg problems. Hey, Tyler.
He's a Dalvin Cook homer. He has been
I'm
for a
just glad he
while.
can't respond. All the tears.
I mean, if you look at probably you know snap percentages versus like dynasty ADP, there's probably a bit of a correlation there, at least for a while. I mean, you look at McCaffrey and Zeke, Kamara. All these guys are playing so many snaps, and that's what you want with running back. It's just opportunity, right? And guys like Michelle and Henry, like and Jones, even like we don't know even the snaps that they've played already is still probably below 50% throughout the year, which is just not the ideal thing for a running back if you want that type of production where it's going to be a consistent RB1. Like, sure, you have James White as an RB1 from the Patriots, who I'm sure played a similar amount of snaps last year as those other guys, but he's probably more of an outlier. You can't really rely on that type of production. So you plant your flag on one of these guys and you kind of hope it works out, but
Ride the wave.
I don't know, diversify your assets. The wave, what?
Got to ride the wave with these guys. You just, plant your flag and ride the wave. Like I said, everybody's going to have warts. I mean, Aaron Jones only had 133 carries last year. I think he's going to get more than that this year, but he won't hit. I don't think he hits 200. I mean, we'll see with, LaFleur and Rodgers there. They love the guy, but I'm just not entirely sold on him getting that workload.
This may be good or it may be bad, depending on what your feelings are on these backs. And Kevin could again attest to this. Henry, Mack, and Jones are three guys I own probably the most as far as running backs of all my dynasty leagues. They're just guys that I've been fans of for a few years now. I bought a lot of Aaron Jones beginning of last year, thinking it was the breakout. In fact, it was, aside from the injury at the end of the year, probably one of the reasons I didn't win the SFB. Sam. I was in the semifinals and I lost both James Conner and Aaron Jones before going into the finals. But I own these three guys pretty much everywhere. I have 0 Sony stock, so that should just sum up my opinion on these four backs.
I'll tell you what, J. Mike, the guy after these three that we're talking about can certainly be left off the list.
I wasn't even going to point him out. I was going to leave you alone. I wasn't going to bother you. But then you go and bring it up.
No. Let's talk about who was at 17, 18, 19 from last year. Let's do that. That's more interesting.
Well, I mean, you don't want to bring up, the 1983 rank? Okay. All right, cool.
17 last year, Rashad Penny. Whoops. 18 last year. Wubba lubba chub chub.
Lego.
And 19 didn't move much at all, Michelle. And 20 was Derrick Henry.
How about that value holding there? Strong close by Sony to the year and in the playoffs. And I think that really got people kind of jazzed up, similar to Corey Davis in the playoffs 2 seasons ago against the Patriots when everybody was like, okay, here we go. Let's go. And yeah. Womp, 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 womp. In the chat, David, the big homie Bird, he said Alex Barnes is killing Henry dreams right now. Yeah, about that.
How seriously? How about that? Like how optimistic we get at this time of year of like all of those guys at the like Ozigbo's like the next Mark Ingram and like come on, we need to chill and be realistic a little bit. Like you can like those guys, but just the Bruce Anderson thing too. It's like okay,
Kevin's boy.
I know.
Listen,
everyone on the fucking planet likes them and their mom. But
we poo-poo it till it happens. I'm telling you.
I'll tell you what. Here's the thing about Bruce Anderson, right? I do like Bruce Anderson, but I'm not like, whatever. I'm not going to overdraft him. But I will say I just want a piece of the Tampa Bay running backs because I have Ronald Jones, too, waiting to see which one breaks out. One of those two guys is going to be a lead back and get some passing work and be involved in the offense heavily, I think. And to me, I just want one of them, and mostly so that when they have a good season this year, I can flip them and get something that I really want because that's the play.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely, but it just even with Ronald Jones, like he was way far down in ADP, and then minicamp talks and just situation talks, and now he's surging again. He's like is he like close to a top 100 player again? I have no idea, J Mike. You might have to check that. But and same with Bruce Anderson. Like I'm sure that he was far down, but because of all the talk, because of the profile, because of the landing spot, he's just kind of surged. But the draft capital, you got to think about the data behind this and the history of this. Like it's really just so unlikely for any of this to happen, and it's just we all get so excited. And I love it, but I mean, we just got to cool it at times, I think.
I'm just sitting over here with my 3-year-old Michael Robert shares. They peaked for like a half an hour. For like a half an hour, they peaked this week.
Yeah, you had a window, Sal, and you
Move fast.
You blew it.
Window. I opened up that window and I was shouting, "He's here! He's here!" Before I knew it,
More like a revolving door.
slammed down on my fingers.
You pushed it open, and then you were back inside.
It's that Grandpa Simpson gift.
Yeah, the Simpsons. Yeah.
I got a golden ticket.
Yeah.
Zach in the chat hits us. He says RBs are a fickle flame, and this is really interesting. He said only one top 24 running back from 2014 is Lev Bell. So we're looking at basically a 95% turnover in 5 years of the top 24 running backs in ADP. That's kind of bonkers. I mean, I get RB7 for short shelf life, but that's just a really wild stat. Like that's crazy turnover. That's funny. That's funny. And he says 8 wide receivers from 2014's top 24 are still in the top 24 now. And obviously T.Y. Hilton, who was 25 at the time, he's there as well. So that's
ain't nothing changed but the name on the mail.
Here's the thing, though. Zach always brings this up on the Dummies podcast, and it's a great point because, and that kind of illustrates that, right? This is why you draft running backs high when you get into your rookie drafts, because one of them will pop, right? And you can flip them for better assets when they do, and then can constantly churn them, right? You churn your running backs to have stable wide receivers. I think that's the way, that's the play, and that's why you have to maximize that value. So you take your shots on guys like Bruce Anderson, because if they pop in years 1 and 2, you get some good value out of them, and then you flip them and you get some stable assets or some draft picks to constantly retool.
Yeah, I mean, that's a benefit that you have with rosters that are, bigger, at 25, 30, and you can kind of have the room for that, or a taxi squad or whatever. But if you're kind of scrapping and he really can only take, 3-4 guys a year, which I don't know what your dynasty team's turnover is, but for the most part, I feel like we can't hold a whole lot of players from year to year. And it's difficult to do that because sure, you can land on one guy, Bruce Anderson, but if that's not the guy, if it's one of the, or I guess the which Chiefs running back just got waived, but I was gonna name one of them instead, or Zigbo, or the Titans guy that y'all were.
It was Christian Okoye.
Nigerian Nightmare. Let's go. Where's my Tecmo Bowl at?
This is why I love having Gabe on my podcast, though, because he gives that kind of knowledge like that.
And that about wraps up the open bar for ever, actually. This is the last.
But you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Can't stay here. Seats taken. Can we? But I think that speaks. This might speak to a greater point altogether when it comes to guys like Bruce Anderson, or just in terms of strategy, in terms of how you target certain situations. Maybe it is wildly beneficial to just leverage these ambiguous situations and get as many tickets of them as you can. And I'm kind of fleshing this out as you guys were talking through it, but your Tampa Bays, your Denver last year with the Devontae Booker, Royce Freeman, and then Phillip Lindsay emerges out of nowhere type of deal. I'm trying to think of other places that just don't have like the super established starter. But I mean, you can even think even last year with Patrick Mahomes. Like I feel like that's something that maybe we should have seen coming. And I think not to the degree that he did, and I don't mean like that, but I just mean in terms of we've got what we think is a really good player, really talented player coming in to an ambiguous situation to some degree. And we saw what Alex Smith did in that offense, and we compared that to what he did for the rest. I mean, for the basically entire portion of his career prior to that, and we weren't overwhelmed, right? But we get the guy who basically is everything that Alex Smith isn't in terms of being able to push the ball down the field and taking advantage of Tyreek Hill's speed and all these other things. Paired him with Andy Reid, like we had this storm of, or basically this recipe of all these super awesome ingredients, and then you put Mahomes in and you've got magic. So maybe that's the case for running backs as well. Find super ambiguous situations where there's not necessarily a guy, get as many pieces as you can at it. And who knows, next year you might have a guy who's top 18 in ADP of the position. What are your all's thoughts on that?
I think that's kind of similar to what Kevin was saying, right? Kevin, were you basically saying you want to have the multiple pieces, and then if one hits, you could flip them.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. When you don't have a stud like that, I want all pieces of the equation so that I can get whoever emerges. I mean, it's dependent, right? There's certain situations where you think one guy's going to emerge. Like in Tampa Bay, for example, that's what I was talking about, right? I think one guy will emerge. I don't think it's going to be a typical split backfield where they're going to rotate through four of those guys on a regular basis, because I don't think that's the type of offense they want to run. It's not Peterson in Philadelphia where the guy wants 18 running backs to get touches all year. He wants one. Bruce Arians wants one guy to emerge so he can constantly have the same guy on the field because it helps him with his offensive game plan. So I want whatever guy Ed ends up being. So if I have both of them, I get a good shot at that happening. But
that's part of it too. Is my question is like you're saying both of them, forgetting about the fact, well, not forgetting, but we haven't mentioned the fact yet. There's a guy last year who got most of the snaps.
Don't say Peyton Barber.
His initials are peanut butter, and he's still on the roster now. And I guess, is it when you walk through that, Kevin? Is he also still a guy that you want the piece of too, or is it just you want the higher upside plays, or all three of them, or how does that work?
Again, if I can roster all three for sure, but to Gabe's point, you may not always have that opportunity, right? So Bruce Anderson's a guy that's going to be on taxi squads because he's still a rookie, so he has taxi eligibility in most dynasty formats. Peyton Barber does not have that option. So now at this point, you're most likely choosing between, do you want Ronald Jones on your roster or do you want Peyton Barber? I think Ronald Jones is more likely to succeed than Peyton Barber. So I'm going to go with him. But if you got the room for Peyton Barber, yeah, throw him on there. Absolutely.
Hey, Kevin.
I don't.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. This is your show, Gabe. It's your world.
This isn't my show.
Is it
asterisk used to be? But
no, I was going to change it to a different couple of running backs. So go ahead. You continue on.
I might be changing to the same. Well, I guess I'm not talking about 2019. I was going to go to 2018 real quick.
Everybody likes history. That's good.
Yeah, of course. I was just okay. So it's good and all to roster these three guys, and I've had conversations with league mates about this in where we have a points per carry, and I think running backs matter a little bit more, and they describe it as like we want to get a part of that situation, a part of that offense, so no matter what, I kind of have it locked down, and like. That's great. It's a good strategy, but I struggle with it. Like just logically, like what are we doing this for? To look at the tape, to look at the analytics, to look at the speed scores and blah 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 blah. If ultimately we're just looking at trying to get a package of guys that we don't give a shit about, and you just want one of them to rise to the top and that be the dude, like. That's fine. That makes sense. Completely makes sense. But we go through this entire offseason year round with this dynasty shit about who we like because of their 40 time. or because of how many missed tackles they had last year. And then ultimately, we just want the situation. Like, we just want one of those three guys. And I was going to allude to Mack, Hines, and Wilkins from last year. And they're pretty far apart, I guess, from Mack to Wilkins. In June, it looks like they were from 86 to 177. So pretty far off. But I feel like that's a scenario where we weren't sure what Mack was going to be. I think we were worried about the injuries and not except for you, Sal. You knew Mack was going to rise no matter what. But
I stuck it out,
could,
baby.
That's right. And you could say the same about, the Browns. We talked a lot about the Browns last year, J Mike, that like everyone was in the top 100 of ADP. And that happened with the running backs as well, between Chubb, Duke Johnson, and Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde was a top 100 in ADP. And like, you can take advantage and draft that situation, but you really only have Chubb from that. And you have no idea what the hell is going to happen with Duke Johnson now. Like, what is that worth to draft those three positions? Is that equivalent to having a player that is, now top 36, top 24, and for how long? And just to throw away like our process through this whole thing, it just kind of bothers me a little bit. But like, I understand where y'all are coming from. If it makes sense to roster that and have it on your team, but it just kind of throws away everything that you like believe in, I guess, of sorts.
So it's the age old debate with the handcuffs too, right? Do you handcuff a guy, or do you go out and get a better prospect, right? Do you take the Darrell Henderson because you're worried about Todd Gurley, or do you take a guy that you think's actually better at football and could have has the talent to win out? I completely understand where you're going with that. For me, I'm not a film guy. I don't watch film. I don't analyze 40 times. I'm not a metric guy. I'm a value guy. I want guys that will increase in value. So for me, that's why I take those shots, right? I want a backfield because I think one of those guys will emerge. And when I get them for a cheaper value and be able to use them to get something better on my team, that's my goal, right? So that's why my process is get that backfield. But I totally understand what you're going with. You're right. If you're doing the work and you're putting in the effort to analyze those guys, and you like someone better than Bruce Anderson, absolutely take him. I'm totally with you there.
And maybe, what you're saying is just like obviously the Tampa Bay running backs are very cheap,
right.
A little bit ago even, and maybe they're rising now or whatever, but like you can get them later on, and that's kind of cheap to acquire. Versus, what I mentioned with the Browns running backs, you had to spend 3, single digit startup picks on those kind of guys. And maybe that's not exactly worth it, but yeah, sure. For something like that, I could see it being worth it.
Yeah. And that's a huge point too. I mean, that's something that everyone should take into consideration. What are you to get Peyton Barber and Bruce Anderson to pair with Ronald Jones? What are you giving up versus like, you're not going to, who else are you taking at that point in either a startup or a rookie draft that you like that much better? To me, if I'm in the third round and I can grab Bruce Anderson over Alexander Madison, to me, it's the same guy, right? One of them might emerge. I don't know which one. They're both decent running back prospects.
They're lottery tickets at that point.
So,
yeah, it's a lot like playing roulette. Seriously, like putting chips on different numbers or different black, red, evens, odds, whatever.
Many different ways to skin the cat, as they say, which just sounds awful. When it comes, let me ask this.
I used that, J Mike, in one of my tweets. Did you read it? I said there are many ways to skin a catriot, a cat triot.
Wow. Bum, bum, bum.
So thank you everybody for joining the last episode of the Open Bar podcast.
You did it.
That Gabe will ever be on.
Put it in the books.
This was a pretty seamless passing of the torch between you guys. I'm proud of you. Well done.
It's more like he dropped the torch and Kevin just like picked it up.
Olympic Park. Yeah, Olympic Park, Olympic Village caught on fire.
I will say, at least Gabe and J Mike, they only got one fighting chance person on instead of 4 this time.
Oh, speaking of fighting chance, and Mr. Tompkins, I'm so glad you brought this up. I don't want to start a fight with you, but I just want to start a conversation.
Oh boy, I think
yeah. You know full well where this is going, and I'm going to leave it there. So let me set the stage, if you will.
Is this about my current notifications? Because trust me.
Maybe, I don't know. You might be in flames after this. I don't know. But what we do when new folks come onto the open bar, we like to get to know you. Sal has been here several times. Mr. Cotillo's joined us several times. But this is your first time in the bar, and I'm actually going to research this tweet real quick. You, sir, you post a lot of things on Twitter. I feel like it's a lot of really good information, a lot of good musings. You even open yourself up to criticism, to give us a little bit of a peek into your life. And sometimes, like today, you say something that's quite controversial, and maybe not even controversial, but you had an entire thread of what I would call hate speech. Some might call it something else. I don't know. But I do want to pull this up real quick because I think that it's important for everyone to know where you stand, basically. So here we go, and I'm going to share my screen again. Yet another reason why you should join us live on the show for you all to be able to see things like this. So Kevin, this is your introduction to our audience, the people that rock with us. So here we go. Mr. Kevin Tompkins on Twitter at K Tompkins
Thigh.
So hopefully you guys can read this, and this is Kevin's tweet. He says, "I'm ready to lose some followers with this divisive food take. Pizza is overrated."
All right, J Mike, let's get this guy the fuck out of here.
Yeah, get him right off my podcast.
First of all, there's no reason to continue reading that thread. You live in Syracuse, which now no longer I consider part of New York. You want to eat some real pizza. You want to drop dead. You come over here. You come to New York. You come to New Jersey. You come to Long Island, and you eat pizza. Not that shit that they're serving you up there that you got to throw fucking the Hawaiian peaches on or whatever the fuck you put on.
No, just trust me, I am not a pineapple dude.
Because everyone knows the biggest export in Hawaii is peaches.
I couldn't find pineapples for some reason. It just wasn't coming to my head.
Survey says
Georgia, Hawaii.
Girl, turn around, show me that Hawaii peach you got there.
Whoa, check, please. Oh my God. You know what? I want Tompkins to explain himself.
All right. So I like pizza. Don't get me wrong. I'm just going to preface everything with you.
All right. So in other words, it was a fake tweet.
No.
I was hacked.
A lot of those going around.
It's my OJ moment. No. You know what? I like pizza. Don't get me wrong. There's just like 15 or 16 other things I'd rather eat than pizza.
Okay, name them.
I'm sorry. No. Wait, Gabe. Gabe. He says 15 or 16. Wait. The fun continued for him. This is part of the thread of his hate speech. Epilogue. I have had every type of pizza there is. And wait, pause. I don't think that that's true, Tompkins. But again, I'm going to reserve judgment. He says I just prefer other foods to pizza: burgers, subs, steak, chicken, pasta, Mexican, sushi, French fries.
Got me steak fries.
How can you say Mexican? You have to say like taco, burrito, or something. You can't just say Mexican. you if you put pizza, you're talking about Italian now.
Can we just stop and say that bacon is ninth?
It's not a meal.
He loses all credibility.
Never did I say this is all in order, by the way. That's my out.
Exactly. Aaron in the chat, hot dogs. Exactly. I like a hot dog. I like to cook a hot dog on a grill, throw some, condiments on it and eat it. But over pizza?
Just not my thing. All right. I'm here.
Listen. I didn't bring we didn't obviously bring you on to drag you through here. You also had chicken wings here. I see. Chicken wings are great. I'm not even mad.
Yeah. By the way, everything on that list aside from sushi is great. It's just pizza. It could be eaten. So I have a friend, and this is a saying that goes around, and it goes like this: Kevin Tompkins, pizza is like sex. It's always good. Sometimes it's great.
Someone said
remember
that in that thread, I believe.
Yes,
Actually.
that's the truth. So you don't like sex, is what you're saying.
I mean,
Quit that shit right now.
You and your hot dog in a corner alone.
Oh, this took a weird turn.
Leave Tyler out of this. At least I showed my face to back up my take.
Exactly, Brandon Rojas. Sushi is garbage.
No sushi slander. Oh my goodness, seriously?
Ugh. I don't even want the fish when it's cooked, let alone that raw shit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm not with y'all on that. That's a different discussion for another day. But yeah. So okay, what are the pizzas that you've had? I mean, Syracuse. I don't know what that is. Like Sal says that that's basically not even a city in New York. Sal says it's not even a city in New York. So
honestly, if you're gonna give me any pizza, you give me one pizza the rest of my life. Give me Chicago deep dish.
It's not the same thing. It's a completely different animal. I've had this conversation 1,000 times. I love deep dish pizza. I'm not telling you it's not good. They're completely different animals.
Look what you guys did. You had to bring up pizza and look what you did.
It's such a divisive topic.
well, control the show, Kevin. Come on.
Listen, let's get it back to fantasy football. So Kevin Tompkins, who exactly would be the pizza of the running back class for you this year?
RB17. So I guess back to Sony Michel.
We're back to
here we go.
Pretty much, yeah, absolutely.
Full circle.
And that's how you bring it back there.
Yeah.
I think I made that come back pretty swish there.
Pro. Absolute pro. Pro's pro.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, chat. Where the chat is. Thanks. Yeah.
Fellas, I got to go plug my computer in before I die. I'll be back shortly.
All right. Can't wait, Sal.
Felt sarcasm? A little bit of sarcasm there. I'll be back.
No, I can't wait to rub your head again. Yeah.
Whoa. Talk about who's in the corner with a hot dog. Pow.
Pause.
Pause. All right. So we want to talk about football again. Do we need to address anything else with the pizza? I like the idea of whatever Kevin was trying to come up with, whether it was creative or not, probably not. Something about comparing a food or maybe just pizza specifically to a running back or a player, toppings on a pizza. Is there anything that we can do there? Anyone cooking up something here? Yeah,
here's what I was going with that. Obviously, none of you got it because you're just not on my intellectual level. But
Sure.
what I was trying to do was pizza is his most overrated food. So who is literally right now your most overrated running back or wide receiver or fantasy player in general? Gabe, who is it for you? Who's your most overrated fantasy player right now?
I mean, it's whoever we bring up on this fucking podcast, I think. Cooper Kupp, Damian Williams, Sony Michel. Like, pick one.
All right, so, but honestly, I mean, you're in rookie drafts, you're in startups. I'm sure. Who's the most overdrafted player for you right now in fantasy football?
Right now in June.
Yep. I know.
It seems to change from month to month. Like literally, I mean, I am being genuine about like who we talk about on this podcast because I get riled up about certain players. You know, between Meckhole, Hollywood, Hardman, whatever the nickname is that J Mike so much loves so much. Shoot, I don't know. Let me look through our June ADP here.
I've got one. I've got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So right now, just want to throw this out there. Josh Jacobs. While I like Josh Jacobs quite a bit, Josh Jacobs is currently going as the 27th player off the board.
Oh my God.
In front of Adam Thielen, Zach Ertz, Brandon Cooks. What are we?
All right. So here's the thing: you just named two wide receivers and a tight end. That's why the running backs are always going to go higher. Always. I mean, that's just the
They're
world.
going to go higher now in the last 2 or 3 years because it's been a takeover of running backs. The classes the last 2 years have been absolutely nuts. And to compare this 2019 class, whoever the first off the board is, I don't care what your 101 RB was in whatever month in this year. It doesn't compare to like the first 5 running backs in either 2017 or 2018. And that's where I think this is going.
Well, the problem with that is the 101 running back, or I should say Josh Jacobs in this particular class, may not have the talent of those guys, but was drafted into a situation where he will get the carries because the rest of that backfield sucks. Ask Sal, he's a Raiders fan. He knows none of them have talent. I don't care what you say. Don't bring me your DeAndre Washingtons. Don't bring me, any of those guys.
DeAndre Washington has had plenty of time to show if he could play running back in the NFL. He's useless.
Josh Jacobs will get 20 carries a game. I mean, he has every opportunity to succeed. So that's the value right there.
That's the Derrick Henry argument too, though, right? I mean, he has every opportunity to succeed. Should and will get the carries. I mean,
does Derrick Henry always get the carries though?
We have it. You can have the same argument ultimately at this point of like, we know the floor of his carries is probably going to be 200. I guess. I think it's higher than that, considering what dude can hold. And we haven't seen Josh Jacobs in the NFL. So do we know what his workload will be? Yes, I understand that the supporting cast is not so much support, but I think it's something to consider.
But Derrick Henry had half of his games last year, 8 games last year with 10 carries or less. They brought in and signed and paid money to Dion Lewis. Now, I understand what you're thinking about Dion Lewis. I get it. I totally understand. He's not
Jalen Richard.
But they did pay money to bring him in. It's not like they're guys that drafted like Jalen Richard or DeAndre Washington. So they paid money for that, and like I said, half of his games had 10 carries or less. I don't think you're going to see that with Jacobs this year. I think he's guaranteed to succeed that as carries go.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin. I bought a lot of Jacobs for the reasons that Kevin has stated, including that I'm a Raider fan. I'd like to have him on my roster if he's going to hit. But, I mean, Doug Martin, Jalen Richard's going to be involved in the offense. No doubt about it. But Doug Martin, DeAndre Washington, that's it. Isaiah Crowell was brought in immediately out for the season. He's just – the opportunity is going to be there, and I think that they want to look smart for making the pick. I think that there are 2 guys there that want to look smart for making that pick, and the only way to look smart is to give him as many touches as possible to have success. So I've brought him up everywhere. He may not be as talented, like you guys have stated, as some of the other guys that have come out, but the talent plus the lack of wear on his body for not being abused in college. We always say, oh, these guys are coming out, they've been beat up on. Here we have a guy who's not been beat up on. I like him.
And I mean, sure, I like him too, but I don't think it's necessarily about that specifically, but back to what J Mike is talking about, that he is the 27th overall player and that you have to put that kind of capital with something you technically know nothing about in the first or the start of the 3rd round in your startup is quite the risk. IMO.
Yeah, it's the known quantity versus the unknown, obviously. You know the situation, you know what you got there, but yeah, it's too rich for my blood with Jacobs.
Gabe, did you ever come up with a guy? Oh, sorry, Kevin. My bad.
No, it's all right. I was listen, J Mike, just settle down there. It's my podcast, all right? Listen, here's my thing, right? So 27th overall. So you're talking early 3rd round with a startup, right? In most cases, you mentioned some wide receivers and a tight end that you could get at that similar spot, but what are the wide receivers that you're going to get the following round, right? So for me, I think you're still going to get a good quality wide receiver 1 round later. then you can take the shot on a running back that's going to get 20 carries and hope that he explodes. And even if you're not a big fan of Jacobs, then you have value to trade to get, in the following year. If he fails, I get it. It hurts your team, but I still think you're going to get a quality wide receiver in the next round.
Can he? I mean, yeah. Obviously, there's room to grow here. He's going to have quite the year to get further than where he's at. What our running back is that, J Mike?
Fact checking.
I gotta imagine that's around.
That's got to be RB1, but right
16.
there.
No way. No way he's RB1. He's beyond 12.
That is running back 13.
13?
Okay.
All right.
So it's, yeah, I mean, he's got to have a year, to be able to, pass these guys ahead of him. Cook, I could probably see him because we're not sure about him. I suppose
Gunther just passed out in his chair.
David Johnson, it's got to be hard to beat half of these guys out.
Yeah, but remember,
Holy shit.
he doesn't have to finish in RB1 status to increase in value. If he has a solid year and ends up as an RB2, people will be projecting forward and they will expect more out of him in his second year. So he'll still retain or increase in value.
Sony Michel did that.
Agreed. I mean, you're right. There is the risk then that someone, they drafted Damian Harris next year and people start questioning him. Or there's the risk that he has knee surgery and people start questioning him. For sure.
Yeah, I think he's a different case with the knee thing. I think that's mostly probably what didn't really propel him. But I think it's something to, mention, I suppose, at least.
But if you
or like a Marlon Mack or something like that, a guy who's an RB2 that definitely didn't get up to that level, I suppose. I think he'd still hover around that range.
Think about it like this, right? The way Sony Michel finished the season, right? He had under 1,000 yards, 200 carries, no catches to speak of, and he had a decent amount of touchdowns. But the way he finished the season, if you didn't have the knee surgery and you didn't have Damian Harris drafted and we were going into this year, where would he be? So much higher in value. So much higher.
How did Derrick Henry finish the season?
Yeah, but everyone knows that Derrick Henry finishes the season that way.
Not Brandon DePaul.
It's baked into the ADP.
That same song and dance for the last couple of years, really.
This year he dances for 16 weeks.
Strong. Did piggybacking on Kevin's question, did you guys have answers for that? Because I've got one in the chat that I'm kind of thrown off by. And I can bring that up if you guys don't have anything. But
Kevin asked a question? Oh, shit.
Yeah, why you were gone?
The question was, we talked about
thoughtful, heavy on the thought.
Kevin talked about pizza being his most overrated food. I asked what their most overrated dynasty player was. So that was the question.
Really impressive.
Who's my most overrated dynasty player?
Don't be salty, Gabe. It's all right.
Gabe.
We'll have you back as a guest.
and to boot, we'll keep the theme song and everything just to remember.
A tribute.
Very first intro.
All right, well, here's a guy who got overrated on talent, but in Dynasty, is he overrated because of the longevity future of his quarterback, and it's Michael Thomas. Because once Drew Brees leaves, are we really relying on old man knees over there?
Don't you knock Teddy B. Don't you besmirch the name of Teddy Bridgewater.
I think this could extend through several wide receivers and continue this conversation. But because I was tagged on some poll about is this a worry of yours when drafting a player this highly with a quarterback that is aging, between Michael Thomas or who I don't even remember who else was in his on his list. He said a few guys that were pretty high in ADP that have QBs that are aging. Juju was the other one because he's right next to Michael Thomas. So I don't know. I don't think it that it worries me as much. You've seen it so much to believe in the talent itself. And I brought up the fact of DeAndre Hopkins having just not necessarily an old QB, but just trash QBs for so long. And we never gave up on him. And we allowed him to be in the top 12 of ADP for a while. And he just certainly never has moved much in the past few years. So I think if the talent is there, that we got to believe in the production that's going to come from it, no matter the QB situation. Yes, it might be a higher ceiling, and that's what we think now with Hopkins, I'm sure, or with Beckham now, I'm sure. But there's no way that wide receiver is going anywhere. They're not going to fall off,
Valid.
What about Baker Mayfield? You kind of bake his ADP kind of baked in his upside. You're getting him at his upside. 27-14. Yeah, he's got all the weapons around him in the world, but I mean, kind of want to see him do it before you're taking the QB3 or QB4 in startups. To me,
Did you?
Yeah, I don't see the point of taking Mahomes, Baker, any of those guys at that high. Like there's no room to grow. I don't get it.
No.
So from that perspective, you're really only looking for a value jump, right? With what you're drafting. I mean, at a certain point, you want to draft a guy that's going to get you the top numbers, too.
Oh, yeah,
of course.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, the question is whether or not you think Baker can do it. I think he can. I mean, I thought he showed enough last year, and now you're adding a guy like Odell Beckham to the talent pool. I mean, a lot of times the narrative ends up becoming, he has all the the tools around him, but can he take advantage of it? Well, you might not even need to take much advantage of them. I mean, anyone can J-Mike can throw a 7-yard out to Beckham and have him take it to the house. I'm just saying. J-Mac's got an arm, so I just saying, Baker's gonna have an easier time than most to put up, high quality fantasy numbers, and I think he showed enough at the end of last year that we can expect that he'll do it. I mean, it's Cleveland, right? So you have to be nervous, but because they'll find a way to screw it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think, after Mahomes and Luck, I'm just seeing him going right there, and it's just. But don't get me wrong. I think he's gonna do it too. I mean, but kind of to a point,
So from a dynasty perspective, though, what quarterbacks are you looking to take ahead of him? I mean, you could make a case for Watson. You can make a case for, if you're looking to win the championship, you Aaron Rodgers. I could see that, but maybe Russell Wilson too. There's not a whole lot of guys though that you're going to throw ahead of him.
No, there's not. There's maybe that top 4. Mahomes, Luck. You can make a case for Watson. You can make a case for Rodgers too. So
I mean, he's in that area, right? I don't think he's being overdrafted, I guess is my point, right? I could see where he's not the QB3, but I don't think he falls much further than the QB6, at least in dynasty value towards the at the end of the year.
So just from a value proposition standpoint, what you're saying, Kevin, you just would not take him there. You're just not willing.
Pretty much. I mean, I'm taking a look at, and that Cleveland thing does scare me. And there's, you say what you want about the clash of egos there, and Baker's certainly got one, OBJ's got one. Who knows? This could all just Mentos and Diet Coke and just blow up. We don't know, but that's the thing.
What a reference! Jeez. Would you ever get in a hot tub filled with Mentos and Diet Coke?
They wouldn't let me in a hot tub. You kidding me?
They let me in a hot tub.
I guess open sores.
Not without sunglasses with Gabe.
Not so much thigh anymore, are you?
All thigh and mighty and everything. I try to slip that in.
I see you.
One person that the chat brought up, which I'm very curious of your all's thoughts on this. Mike Will
have a name.
Mike Williams.
I'm buying
the latest iteration of Mike Williams. Currently going, if we're looking at ADP, The man is going at wide receiver 22 at about a 50 average, about 50 overall there. Mike Williams at wide receiver 22 in front of Cooper Kupp, Sammy Watkins, Tyler Lockett, Corey Davis, Tyler Boyd, and Allen Robinson, all in front of all those guys.
I could probably see everybody except for Kupp. It's higher than I thought he'd be going, but I am buying him or have bought him in this offseason. I think there are, somebody was talking before, it might have been Zach, there are a lot of weapons, a lot of targets with Henry coming back this year, with a healthy Melvin Gordon and all that stuff. But I just think that this guy has that size and talent mix. He's impressive to me. I think if he gets more targets, which is not likely, but I think he could do a lot with what he gets.
I don't hate it. I mean, it's kind of what he's producing at this point. I know it's dynasty ADP, but what'd you say, wide receiver 22? If that's all you're expecting from him at this point as a ceiling and currently, and then when things move on eventually from Keenan Allen, it's not that far away. I don't hate it. It's a decent value, really. It's just like it's just right, The porridge. He's got that Mike Williams, that good porridge.
Keenan Allen only 27, by the way. I'm not sure that the moving on from Keenan Allen's.
I just meant the contract situation, not the. I don't know what they'll do with the contract.
Fair. My point about Mike Williams was going to be this, though. I think you're right, Gabe, in that if he's wide receiver 22 and you're drafting him as a wide receiver 2, he's kind of the perfect wide receiver 2, right? Because he's going to have games where he explodes. He's not someone you're depending on for that weekly, high volume production. He's going to have games where he has 3 touchdowns. He's going to have games where he has, 50 yards and nothing else. So he's a great wide receiver 2 in that regard. And I think that that's where you need to have him. And furthermore on that list, I don't know that there's too many more that I'm going to take ahead of him. I mean, Corey Davis is the only guy in Dynasty that I still like and I still think will succeed in the NFL. So he's a guy I might move up ahead of Mike Williams. Other than that, the other guys in that list, I've never been a Sammy Watkins guy. I love Tyler Lockett, but I think he's valued where he should be. Tyler Boyd, is another guy to consider, but capped by AJ Green. So I just think that those are I think that list is right where it needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. It's a solid value. The only thing is I'm not a big Corey Davis guy, but it's apples and oranges. I like Williams at that spot too, and he might not get up from the 66 targets too much, but for what he is, the size and speed, I think he's a solid value at that spot. I mean, I take him there. And like you said, he's a good wide receiver too, at least in your lineup.
I don't think Lockett should get the disrespect, and we've talked about, or Robinson for that matter. I think that it's weird to take a wide receiver 2 over wide receiver 1 on their respective team. It's just kind of funky to me, and especially when you talk about Woods and Kupp when they're like the tied for the wide receiver 3. And I know we've talked about that offense and blah, blah, blah. No.
Hey, let's be honest. According to Peter Howard, DK Metcalf is the wide receiver 1 in Seattle.
That's his boy, isn't it?
Well, Tyler Lockett has been Kevin's since high school, elementary school.
him and I go way back. I do like I said, I do like Tyler Lockett, but I do think he's relatively he's valued where he needs to be, because even though, Gabe, I agree with you. Typically, I don't like to take a wide receiver 2 on a team over a wide receiver 1. I don't know that Tyler Lockett is really the wide receiver 1 there. I think they are going to morph into a situation where they have a 1A, 1B, or furthermore, kind of a 2A, 2B. I don't know that either, because Lockett's not a guy that's going to be, 170 target type guy. He's just not that guy. So I think they now have a bunch of wide receivers where they're going to spread the ball out. So,
or just run the ball all the time.
Yeah, I can't really, speak too confidently of what Seattle will do. I'd like to think that they're going to target Lockett more. I know he was super efficient with touchdowns, and that's kind of where his scoring came from last year. But I think that DK is super raw, and I think that it's going to take a couple of years for something to happen, if anything. So at least Lockett will be there to kind of hold it over. And I can't say that he's going to get a whole lot more targets. I just don't know what that offense is going to do. And I like what you said about the 2A, 2B. I just don't know if Metcalf can be that right away. But I do think that there's a possibility of them both just being like low, top 30 wide receivers or something.
But Gabe, there was video on Twitter.
How many routes does he run now? How many routes?
At least 2.
Has he?
1.5.
Can't quite get that whole slant and go thing to go. He's got the slant part, not the go. Or no, it's vice versa. He's got the go
comeback
part, not the slant. Yeah.
That comeback
That's
route.
the half.
That comeback route was hard.
Cotillo, and it's so funny that you talk about just the value proposition. It's so interesting to me that in the span of a month, like I was really excited about Mike Will around wide receiver 28, and at wide receiver 22, when you start going in front of guys like Corey Davis, like Tyler Lockett, like Allen Robinson, all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know that I want to pay that price for him, and I like Mike Williams, but literally 1 month up 6 wide receiver spots, and he starts jumping in front of guys, and I'm just like, wait a second, this is not right. So that's so interesting to me.
Oh, I'm happy I bought him like 2 months ago.
Yeah, that was probably the time. Golly, that's wild. Anywho, one more thing I definitely wanted to point out in the chat because it lit all the way back up again, and this is continuing on the Mike Williams point. Mr. Rojas, friend of the show, he joined us a couple weeks back. He says that he'd rather have Christian Kirk over Mike Will, and I'm not sure if that's a value proposition or just man for man. Christian Kirk currently going at wide receiver 40, and obviously we are looking forward to all of the pass volume splendor in Arizona. Is Christian Kirk someone you'd rather be out looking to trade for at this point, or would you rather have someone like Mike Will?
If I could answer first, I would take Mike Will first. Now, that's not to say I don't like Christian Kirk, and I have stock left over from last year. I just feel like they have drafted and brought in a ton of young wide receivers in that offense, and I think it could become more spread out there than even we talked about in like Seattle or places like San Diego. I think it's going to be spread very thin. You have David Johnson coming back healthy, who's going to get a ton of work out of the backfield. So while I really do like Kirk's talent, and there is a big disparity in value, for me, it's still Mike Williams.
Yeah, I got to go with Mike Williams, too. It's that, like Sal said, it's the target distribution. You don't know where it's going to go. Kirk is probably the clubhouse leader outside of David Johnson as far as targets. But, I mean, you just don't know. So give me Mike Williams over Kirk.
I think you buy Kirk now because the value is lower and you expect to get more out of him next year. When Fitzgerald's probably – we got to assume that he's gonna retire at some point. We see a little bit more out of this offense and understand what it is. And I just think Kirk in his third year takes a stranglehold there. I think you buy him now because he's so much cheaper than Williams. Williams has a better year this year, but in the long term, I think they'll probably end up a little more even. And I'll take the value at Kirk.
I mean it's hard to argue that he is the wide receiver 1, I guess, with all the bodies there, but I don't know. He might be the wide receiver 1.
Right, but he could also be wide receiver 3.
I don't know. I don't think that's fair. I think if anything, his floor is wide receiver 2. Just
okay.
Based off of what he's done, unless he's coming off of that foot thing, not great. I haven't really heard anything.
Where are the Andy Isabella truthers?
Where are the Butler truthers, man? Those guys are feisty.
Somewhere in a corner under some rocks with cockroaches, like you can't find them
I
right
was
now.
gonna say, and wrong. Yeah, they're scared right now because of the draft stock, right?
Man, they hit quick. Sheesh. The one last thing I wanted to bring up, and it was brought up way earlier. Gunther brought up DJ Moore and his superstar. Excuse me, better way to put it, meteoric rise. And this will be my last bullet that I have, Gabe. His meteoric rise in the eyes of folks to be basically on pace to be wide receiver, or excuse me, a wide receiver one. I think Curtis Patrick does work for the Dynasty Command Center. I believe that's what it's called. He put out, I think, an article the other day just referencing how it's maybe a predictive stat or something that he's working on that basically has DJ Moore as someone basically on the brink of being someone who's, I don't know, a wide receiver one perennially. And I'm curious what you guys think about that in terms of where he currently stands with value and how over the last month Curtis Samuel's been a superb darling to many. DJ Moore currently going as wide receiver 16. Can we talk DJ Moore for a minute?
That was honestly a guy that I was considering on the list of overvalued. Not because I don't like him. I just wide receiver 16 is tough. Just a lot of capital to put into something that we're not quite sure about. I mean, we saw Funchess kind of with the max amount of targets and Kelvin Benjamin we've seen with Cam. My point is with Cam Newton, like what is the ceiling for the wide receiver one in Carolina? And I don't know if it can be better than kind of around where DJ Moore is. Like, yeah, he might bump up a few spots and be like wide receiver, 13, 12, 11 or so, but like 16 is so rich. And I do like the talent. Like, I think it's there, but I just don't know if that's like necessarily a superb value.
Well, let's be clear. The wide receiver one in Carolina is Christian McCaffrey. There's no question about it.
And that too. Yeah.
I mean,
and that, like, Kelvin Benjamin wasn't. Yeah, exactly. You're totally right. With Kelvin Benjamin not there.
So you're really talking about the wide receiver two in an area, and to go DJ Moore at 16 with wide receiver two, I don't know that I can see it. I'd rather take, Samuel 35 spots or 35 wide receiver spots later, I should say, and take a shot on a guy that has a chance to have, maybe not consistency, but bigger games, right? Where he has breakout speed and he can have some games where he's going to have huge production, probably some games where he has lower production. You're going to have to ride the wave with him a little bit, but you'll be able to have that so much later than you can DJ Moore. So I'll take that in the value wise all day long.
They're similar players, right? I mean, it's similar to Samuels, Moore, and McCaffrey. Actually, all do very similar things. It's a weird setup in Carolina, but to Kevin's point, I own both Moore and Samuels in a lot of places, but the value is better with Samuels. I don't like agreeing with him.
Yeah,
you've done it a lot tonight too. Kind of, I don't know, low-key mad.
It was a little bit off my curve.
Yeah. Are you joining the open bar permanently too? Are you replacing J Mike? Is this?
I got time for Tuesdays with Maury.
No, I have no interest in doing another podcast with Sal. It's really just about replacing you, Gabe.
Understood.
You had a good run.
Sorry to bring that up. Anyway.
Gabe, that's all I've got.
Can I say one thing?
Oh, you are the guest.
Catillo, you allowed?
It's true. May I? Not can I? I don't know. Can you?
Please proceed.
All right. Curious about, because we had the conversation about putting all of our chips on a team for running backs, as long as the value's right. At this point, I think we're talking about the Bucks. Last year, I think we may have been talking about the Colts. Just saying. But is there a situation, because we started talking about Kirk and whatnot, is there a situation that you find it valuable to acquire multiple wide receivers where there is one that can, rise to the top, and maybe the Arizona wide receivers are a bit rich because of the new offense and Kyler showing up, but maybe something like the Jets wide receivers or I don't know, any you can come up with any team. I'm just curious, is there some sort of scenario where that could help your team as well? Because I always kind of hate drafting wide receivers from the same team, just because I know that share is like way different than that of a running back, because ultimately you kind of see some running back kind of rise, and it doesn't seem to happen as much with wide receivers. So is there some sort of team that y'all would kind of speculate to see that on your team? No takers.
I've got one, and it's in Denver. And Gabe, I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna think. No, I'm not busting your Suttons.
I know you're not.
I'm not. I'm just saying right now, he is the perceived one, right? We saw other guys be productive last year. What's his name? Tim Patrick. He flashed. Manny Sanders, not dead. Deshaun Hamilton, routes for days, hands, and Noah Fant, fine, however you like to pronounce it. I don't want to disrespect the man, but that's just a group. Yes, well done. You're back. He's back. But I just feel like that's a group. That's a group that could be fun in terms of having someone, if you can, for whatever reason, hit right, and that offense is at least halfway decent. I think that could be a lot of fun. Maybe and is it possible Noah Fant could truly get 100 targets like out the gate? That would be a lot of fun to watch.
It's possible. Here's a couple that I have in my mind. One is the wide receiver 2 in Green Bay, right? I mean, you can get Allison, you can get
MVS.
Yeah, you can get Marquez Valdez Scantling, and
the best player, Jay Kumaro.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely not a guy that was going to be on the list, but sure.
EQ.
But exactly.
Keep laughing it up. Aaron Rodgers is doing nothing but praising the guy and everything he does. Keep laughing it up. I'll be with all the Kumaro shares.
You enjoy that. They'll be worthless next year. But those 3 guys that the better Kevin mentioned are actually guys that you can get very easily, and that's a piece of an offense that you want the second wide receiver. So that's one. Shout out to Riley Bymaster, who on the Dynasty Wall Street that's going to be coming out soon will mention this as well. That's one that I would like. The other one, that second wide receiver spot in Pittsburgh is another one where, I mean, they may not be the leads, but we know that second wide receiver spot has value. Moncrief, James Washington.
Oh, he had to work Moncrief.
Yeah, no. But look, whatever it is, I mean, look, I think it's going to be James Washington. I think he has better talent. I do. I'm not. You all know I'm a big Moncrief guy, but at the same time, Moncrief could be that guy. I want one of those guys, and you can get those guys for relatively cheap as well. So those are 2 situations right off the bat that I'm thinking of.
I like that. I love that scope because it's it's a bit sneakier because it's the wide receiver 2. And that holds value, but it can also hold value, in the future, potentially as a wide receiver 1 position, especially, I mean, probably more so in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and Ben kind of on edge, I think, of retirement. But yeah, I love that.
How about the myriad of young possibility wide receivers in San Francisco? Like, we've heard that Dante Pettis is just lighting it up and looks light years ahead of where he was last year. And I'm probably sure that that's the guy I want first and foremost in that offense. But they brought in a bunch of young guys again. They've had a bunch of young guys left over from last year. So, outside of Pettis, is it Kendrick Bourne? I mean, they signed Jordan Matthews, but we've seen the Jordan Matthews crap before. We heard that Marquise Goodwin is not going to be, a regular wide receiver in an offense. He's going to be more of a quick hit kind of guy. But what do you guys feel about that offense? And is there somebody beyond Pettis that you really want, and who is it?
Goodwin, you can pretty much get for free at this point. I mean, I think you can kind of just stash him away, and the Kendrick Bournes I like, and Pettis. Everybody's going to talk up everybody, and when we got nothing else to talk about in the middle of the off season. But sign me up for Pettis. Sign me up for just stashing Goodwin at the end of drafts.
Yeah, I like Pettis. I lean Pettis myself, but I have no idea. I've said it before. I have no idea which one's going to emerge. So if you can get both, by all means, get after it.
What about Debo?
Right. I mean, those are two top 100 guys there, and you'd like to think, and don't forget Kittle, who's by and far the most expensive of the three. But you'd think that Samuel would be Kittle's the one, and Pettis and Samuel are really like the 2A, 2B of sorts.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, you guys really like that take. How about what about so let's all kind of hope that Tyreek Hill is not a NFL player for much longer. Sammy Watkins is the wide receiver one. Shout out to my man's J. Mike Check. Is there a wide receiver there that is interesting to you? I feel like finally people are coming to realize the Hardman thing, and he's become cheaper probably. I guess I don't know. I haven't watched, but I feel like the Twitter vibe is getting better. and there's Demarcus Robinson or whatever your thing is there. Is there a wide receiver too on the case of Coutinho that interests you? Or would you take like all of those wide receivers on your team is what I'm saying, those wide receiver twos?
Kevin's not even here right now to defend it.
Okay. Does he like Mecole?
No,
DeMarcus?
Some hurt feelings.
I don't think he's a. I don't think
is the host allowed to leave during the show? I'm
yeah,
not
he
sure
didn't even. Yeah. Oh, he did put a BRB. Look at that.
Yeah, I don't really do that, J. Mike.
Well, what time is it? It's 11:30.
It's your time to take the show back.
Okay, so all right, welcome into the open bar.
Land this plane.
Welcome into the open bar. My name is Gabriel motherfucking Gearing. All right, I am the co-host of the Open Bar podcast, joined by the better man himself, Mr. J. Mike Check. We have two guests here tonight. Just one Kevin and one Sal. This has been a good show so far. A great intro. So in case you missed that intro, just want to remind you that Kevin, the one and only Kevin, is here, and Sal Lido is here. He follows me on Instagram. You can follow me as well for more hot bod picks coming for that 2019 calendar throughout the FF community. It appears that one other person has joined the show. Not entirely sure who it is. Would you like to introduce yourself, young man?
It's nice that you try to do a hostile takeover while I'm gone for a couple of seconds here.
Back to the coup.
I appreciate that you think you're the host of the show. I am Kevin Cotillo. You can follow me on Twitter at Kevin Cotillo. I think that most people would agree that the show ran better while I was hosting. So
Most people reside in your house.
Well, that's fair. I can't argue that.
the dead bodies in your fridge that you kept in that basement for so long, they do not count.
Be cool.
They're inside the walls he put up.
Be cool.
Sicario.
Gabe, man, this show would suck without you. There's no way I could take over. I was just trying to help out in your absence. That's all.
Gabe's
No,
the best.
I really wish that you could take over these next 3 weeks so we don't, lose all the fans.
Well, believe me, you'd still lose fans.
Actually, lose them at a larger rate.
There's still the clip show idea.
A little Macho Man, maybe.
That's a lot of editing for J Mike.
Oh yeah, brother. I'll tell you what.
There it is.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Hey, that was good, by the way, Kevin. I enjoyed.
That's what I said.
That. I enjoyed that.
There might be something else in the works later on this week.
There might
not be the Macho Man. We'll see.
There might be something else in the works on this end too. You never know where the smoke's coming from.
I could see the lust in your eyes, Gabe. I could see it. brother.
Oh, all right. J Mike, did you have you said a team already, right? Did you say a team with the wide
I said
receivers?
Denver.
Oh, Denver.
But my heart is always and forever in anywhere Shanahan is. Not old Shanahan, young Shanahan.
We didn't even say
Shanahan
Jacksonville.
fan.
We didn't even say Jacksonville. They're all like
I'm
fourth
I'm
round
okay with
draft
not
picks.
saying it. Yeah. I mean, I love my team, but I'm okay with leaving them out of this conversation right now.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Do we have anything else then? Is that it? Are we good?
I think that'll do it.
All right, fine. Whatever you say. This has been the open bar. We will see you in 3. I'm just kidding. You know that I have to give my man's Kevin the right, the privilege to close out the show for us. I'm going to allow you to start first. You may carry on from there. If you decide not to carry on from there, I will take it as you bending the knee to me, and I will be handling the outro from there. So,
Listen, there's no chance after seeing that picture of you that I'm ever bending a knee to you. It's just it's not ever going to happen. I am Kevin Cotillo at Kevin Cotillo FF. You can find me on Dynasty Wall Street on the Dynasty Trade Calculator podcast feed. You can find me on Fantasy Football Funhouse with Sal Lito. That's a irregular podcast that comes out whenever we feel like it. Thank you for those of you who still listen to that podcast. J-Mike, I know you do, and I appreciate that, buddy. You're probably one of 3 listeners at this point. But that's it. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out in those places, and I'll kick it over to my friend Sal to take over. It just makes me feel gross that I called him my friend. I'm sorry.
You're welcome. Listen, guys, real quick, I want to touch on the SFB Podathon if you give me a minute. This is going to be kicking off on July 7th at noon in the East. It's going to go for 25 hours. I'm just going to go quick. I'm not going to name everybody because I couldn't, but this is the star power that will be with us this year. Heath Cummins, Matt Harmon, Liz Loza, Mike Taglieri, the Bull Rush reunion, 10 o'clock Sunday night. We will have Matthew Berry, JJ Zacharyson, Mike Wright. It's insane, the star power that will be on there. It's a 25-hour podathon, live, nonstop. We don't sleep. We're here to raise money for fantasycares.net, which Scott Fish created to raise money for Toys for Tots. Listen, donate, follow the SFB Podathon Twitter handle, follow my Twitter, Sal Lito, Letoff, for all the information. The links are up. We've already raised $1,000, and we're looking to go to 10. We got about 5 last year, and we didn't start collecting money till the day of the show last year. So 1,000 already in the bank. Guys, come out, donate. There'll be prizes. Those will all be listed. I can't get into all that now. Sponsored prizes, fun, and fantasy for 25 straight hours.
Hey, fun fact, because I have walls and no freezers now, the only dead body you'll see is Steve Marcus, our third host.
Steve who?
Wow. Yeah.
Still alive, kind of.
Steve Mark Ice, I think.
Hey.
Did I finally get one? You guys gonna give me that? No? Okay.
Yeah. I'll allow it.
Yes. The open bar might be on there. And we might have a shirt on there or something. Or we'll definitely have a shirt. We're just not sure if the open bar will be on there. We're trying to, yeah. At least one of us, we can make that happen, J-Man. Come on.
They say the middle of the night is open, Gabe.
4 to 5 a.m. is the only spot open.
4 to 5. Oh, really?
That's not even a joke.
Kevin, what the fuck?
Real talk.
I saved that spot for you, Gabe.
Yeah, you gave me like so many other options before, and now it's 4 to 5 a.m.
Kevin,
Wait, what time? Wait, hold
none
up.
of
Is
the
that East? Is that Eastern though?
That's Eastern. Yeah, so it's 1
What day
a.m.
is that? What day is that?
Sunday, July 7th into Monday, July 8th.
So that'll be Monday morning. Monday,
Monday morning
July
for you.
8th morning at 4 a.m. Eastern
That might work.
Daylight Time.
That might
We
work.
also have 5:30 to 6 is open, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want to do a half
Yeah,
hour.
2 to 3 a.m. my time might work in
Or-
Montana from the 406. Stand up.
Listen, no one wants to hear Tyler Gunther, so if you want to just take
That's a
over
good point.
his spot, he's at 2:30 a.m.
Okay.
Just something to mull.
What's he doing up that late? He's got a casserole in the oven he needs to take out. Great things that y'all are doing. The potathon. I remember seriously, y'all grind through that. It is insane to think that 2-3 average people like yourself can actually hold up for that many hours. So,
Below average.
Now it's kind of excited to be called average.
yeah, you see what I'm saying?
That's a
And
compliment.
Sal, I don't know if you mentioned. Did you mention the Twitter handle that for the potathon?
Yeah, it's a SFB Potathon. You could follow along there. Everything's being posted there. Tim Torch is helping run that account. Thank you, Tim. And shout out to Tim, who lost his father today. So much love to him and his family. But he's done a great job pitching in and helping out.
Agreed. Yep. Rest in peace, Mr. Torch. And yeah, thoughts and all the positive vibes to you and yours, my man. Friend of the show, Mr. Tim Torch. Yeah. Okay. So do the potathon. Listen to the Funhouse if you still happen to listen to that. Is that all it is? Is that what I got from that? Got it? Moving on to Kevin Tompkins Thigh.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at KTompkinsII, not Thigh. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I got a podcast actually launching in the next couple days, the first episode with Kate and Michelle from the Ball Blast Fantasy Podcast. We all did a mock draft for redraft. So check that out in the next couple days on my Twitter feed. Other than that, you can find my work on Fighting Chance Fantasy. They only let one of us on this time instead of putting all four of Casey and Ryan and Steve and all those people. So, I mean, good for you guys for learning the errors of your ways, for letting them control everything before.
Biggest mistake of our lives.
Regrets every day.
I mean, to have 2/3, 66.66 repeating percent of the fun house on here is quite a risk, really.
Huge risk.
And for the open bar to do it, we're kind of heroes.
You have 100% of the fun house on here, by the way.
Patience of a saint.
Oh, is Steve's no longer with the fun house?
Well, he's welcome whenever he shows up. He's dead.
Good point, because he's on ice.
And we'd like to
Mark
call
Ice.
him like a figurehead, but he's really just not important at all. So
I know, like the whole Jay Grizz thing. Is there something that y'all could do for Steve?
Yeah, but it's the actual real live Steve he's so thin he only has one side.
Like the Steelers. I got it.
my goal is to have him on the Open Bar podcast. So once
I was the only one who got the joke, Kevin.
I'm
Masterful.
there.
Gabe's just angry. He's just
He's hurt.
I'm gonna drop a diss track. That's it. Gonna get right into my bag right after this. All right, so my dogs are fighting in the background. J Mike, I am in my fucking living room. I'm gonna hand it over to you. You do your outro thing that everyone loves so much, especially Kevin. Apparently, I'm not. It sounds like he's got a kind of a weird vibe thing, like kind of goes to sleep to it. I don't know, but you take it away, my man.
I have sleep issues. What do you want?
Hashtag Mr. Steal Your CPAP. So shout out to the big homie Commissioner McGriff, one of the founding fathers of hashtag ADP pushups, the crime dealt himself.
Deltron.
Some might call him hashtag Deltron, all caps, if you're nasty. What he popped into the chat right at the end here. Good to see you, man. Hope you're well. That's blown up. That's taken on a life of its own over the last week. Kudos to you and Code Man, Cody Kutzer, for really giving that legs. So as we close out here, a few things I definitely wanted to shout out. Like we talked about, we've got the new T-shirts on the site again. For everyone to be able to take a look at it. It's our classic open bar logo, never late, always on time, hashtag press play. Again, you can check that out at theopenbar.storyenvy.com. So please give that a look. SFB9 right around the corner. Really excited for it. And obviously with that, we got the SFB Podathon, which was mentioned. Definitely want to give some love to Mr. Stephen Marcus, hashtag Mr. Hard Candy. Hashtag Mr. Werther's Original, hashtag Mr. Cracker Barrel Rocking Chair. I miss him so. He's good people. Steven, if you're listening to this, I hope you are enjoying a Werther's Original and telling someone to get off your lawn. You're the man. With that being said, to everyone in the chat this evening, you are fantastic. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for rocking with us. All the new faces. Had several new people. The Funhouse Wall Street. You guys brought in a lot of love, a lot of new folks this evening who were like, hey, I heard about you guys from here or there, and they showed us love this evening. So thank you guys for rocking with us. If you didn't catch us on the live show and you're listening to this in podcast form, thank you so much again for joining us. If you would, you don't even have to necessarily rate or review us, but share us with a friend. Put it on at work, turn up with some friends, whatever it may be. Let's have fun. Let us turn your Tuesday nights into an actual party, because you know that Tuesdays are for the turn up. We appreciate that. Lastly, I am on Twitter at JMikeCheck, at JMICCheck. You can find the show's handle at The Open Bar FP. Last but not least, my better half, my main squeeze, my big spoon, my main man, Bungie, Genius the MC, Mr. Hayu himself, Bozeman's best, at FF Man Bun. Gabe, take us home.
God, you came up with like 8 other nicknames throughout that whole process. I mean, not just me, like everyone. How does he do it? Kevin
Do
was
what
right.
I can.
Yeah, see, you're just not needed, Gabe.
Oh.
They have the best part of you. It's the song.
Yeah, I know. I really just start and finish this thing, and I'm not talking about my voice live. I'm talking about the intro and outro.
Vinegar strokes. We got
More
you.
walls
We
up
know.
on the
Start to
406.
finish.
You've peaked. It's really.
Vinegar strokes at the beginning and end. That's something.
That's how you finish. That's how you finish.
Hey, some girls pay for that.
Usually pay double for that kind of action time.
I think you pay them for that, Kev.
That's probably more true.
All right. Yeah, no, I think J Mike said it all, and he said it perfectly. I usually ask him at this point if we have a show next week. To my knowledge, we don't. But like this, episode has gone, it appears that I am not co-hosting the show anymore, and it's very possible that there is a live show on Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern. Are you still going to do the ish part, or are you going to like come on time? What's
No.
I don't want to like step boundaries. I'm just wondering like what the strategy is.
Your brand is now my brand.
Got it. So, straight transaction, tit for tat. Understood. So if there is a show next week, it will be here, YouTube, 9:30
No.
Eastern.
No.
What?
This
No?
brand is your brand. This brand is my brand.
My brand.
This brand
From Cincinnati
to Austin,
to
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, let's go.
Out in Hawaii, we got the peaches.
With all the peaches. This brand was made for you and me. Let's
Hey!
do it. Oh yes, that's so perfect. That's too good. But no, and that's the other thing. Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, in case you didn't hear, hashtag we're celebrating hashtag Summer of Kai. The Kai mission or wherever you are, stand up. You're the man. Yeah, out of respect, without a doubt. So we'll likely be off at least the next couple weeks. The summer is a time where we get to recharge, get away, do some traveling, and hone in. However, Mr. Cotillo, I will be in touch. We might have a flash show or something crazy. Nothing disgusting. Get your minds out of the gutter there. But yeah, we'll talk. I'm excited.
Hey, Mike, just come on to Funhouse. We'll do it that way.
Ooh, that's even more fun. As long as I could get to sit in the actual rocking chair that was created by Stephen Marcus, I'm there.
Sucking on some Werthers.
The fun part is Sal says that, and then he won't show up either. So it'll just be you.
And if I know that J Mike's going to be there, I'll show up. I ain't showing up for you.
Sorry, Gabe, you were saying.
I don't even know what I was saying. I hope that something happens over the next few weeks so people don't forget about us. And if it so happens to be the fun house where J Mike is visiting, could y'all just like kind of retitle that and say the open bar? I'll send you that hot fire intro, not the one for your show. I'm gonna wait a couple months to do that, but but the open bar one, we'll just kind of rebrand it. You said it. My brand is your brand. That whole thing. Yeah. Okay. Great. Let's get the fuck out of here. This outro shit, J Mike. Okay. So what else did you say? Did you say the shirts? We got shirts. We'll make more shirts. Maybe we'll make more shirts. The 406. That's where I'm going. J Mike, he's gonna come out too. He said he's gonna sneak a weekend in and he's gonna take his cowboy boots and we're gonna kick it, Holmes.
Bozeman, what up?
Bozeman, what up? J Mike's coming. I don't think we have anything else. We are just so happy to be a part of this. And I think Sal already said it enough with the podathon and things, but please just go and donate to fantasycares.net. It's for the kids. It's for the kids. I promise I won't sell the calendars. That is not for the kids. But everything else is.
And for the ladies.
It's for the ladies.
So
ladies out there looking to buy some. Okay.
Wow, that was gross.
Miss Elizabeth.
That's a pretty good Val Venus you've got there, Gabe.
Yeah, I don't want to say goodbye. It sucks. At least I'm not going to be here for a few weeks. I hope that some of y'all. I know I do. But you know what? I will say that I know we've been bullshitting the whole time, but I'm genuinely happy that I could spend it with y'all. I had a lot of fun tonight. We talked possibly too much football, but I love the conversation tonight. Sal, I love you. Kevin, I love you. Other Kevin, I love you. It's all equal, baby. Oh, J Mike, I love you the most.
Why, thank you.
All right, put your drinks up. I'm nervous. I don't want to do it. I don't want to. I feel like this is the last episode. I mean, it kind of is because I'm being taken over, but like I might have a chance to come back, and just having that chance in me, that little bit, just gives me the energy to get up, wake up. What is that, J Mike?
When I come to see you in Bozeman, what up? All the cows, bring them here.
You ever gone?
Bring them here.
You ever gone cow tipping? Don't ever do that, by the way. I've never done it, but I like heard of people who do that in my hometown. Don't do that shit. That's fucked up. Don't go and tip a cow over.
It's bad for the cows.
Think about a cow laying on the ground. Think about a horse laying. I mean, you couldn't fuck with a horse, but imagine either of those two animals lying on the ground. It's not right. Okay, so Those are my words. Those could possibly be my last words. We will see y'all in a few weeks. So what's deuces times 3, J Mike?
You're the math teacher. Why are you asking me?
Shit.
It's Montana math. I mean, come on.
Running through the 6 with my woes. I tell you what. All right. The 6s then, the deuces, the 6s, the quattros. We'll see you then. The Raptors in 6, the Raps in 6. Shout out to Kawhi coming to LA. Woo, baby, let's get it.
End this broadcast right now.
J Mike, we're done.
Awful.
Kawhi.
Bye.
Bye. And it deuces.